July 14th, 2026. Dallas Stadium. Spain vs. France. World Cup semi-final. Kylian Mbappé, 7 goals at this tournament, the most complete attacking player of his generation, at his absolute peak, has been almost completely silent for 90 minutes. Not because France didn't create chances. Not because the system broke down. Because every time Mbappé received the ball in dangerous territory, a 19-year-old from a village of 200 people stepped in front of him, took the ball cleanly, and started an attack in the opposite direction. Spain won 2-0. Cubarsí played every minute. Clean sheet. Spain to the final. After the match, a reporter asked Luis de la Fuente, the coach who had just reached the World Cup final, to describe his center-back's performance against the best forward in the tournament. De la Fuente didn't hesitate. He's 19 years old, and he's already one of the best defenders in the world. Not one of the best young defenders. Not one of the most promising. One of the best in the world. Pau Cubarsí has played every single minute of Spain's 2026 World Cup campaign, 630 minutes across 7 matches. He is the only player under 20 to have done so. The only one who was never substituted, never rested, never given a half game. 7 matches, 630 minutes, 1 tournament from the village of Estanyol in the province of Girona. Estanyol had fewer than 200 people. It had no football pitch. It had no school. And it produced the most composed center-back at the most important tournament on earth. This video is about how that happens, and about the question it raises that nobody in football has a clean answer to. Pau Cubarsí Paredes was born on January 22, 2007, in Estanyol, Girona. The village had fewer than 200 inhabitants. There was no football pitch. There was no school. His parents, Robert and Gloria, enrolled him in the football club of the neighboring village of Vilablareix, where he went to school and where he first learned to play the game. Jana Redondo played in the same team as Cubarsí at Vilablareix. She remembers him with a precision that contains, in miniature, the entire story. He was playing in defense but getting the ball, running the length of the field to score, and then running back to celebrate with me. We always won the league thanks to Pau. A child in a village without a pitch, playing for the neighboring team, playing as a defender but running the entire field to score, and then running back. Not because anyone told him to, because that's what made sense to him. He kept a low profile, Redondo adds. He never thought he was better than anyone. His heroes were Messi and Neymar. His declared ambition was to play for Barcelona. At 11 years old, having trained briefly with Girona's academy, he was taken into La Masia, Barcelona's youth development program, the most celebrated football academy in the world, the system that produced Messi, Xavi, Iniesta, Piqué, and Pedro. He joined La Masia in 2018. He made his first team debut in January 2024, aged 16 years and 11 months, the 3rd youngest player in the club's history. The question this video is building toward: La Masia shaped Cubarsí over 7 years. But the player who ran the length of the field to score in a village without a pitch, and then ran back, was already there before La Masia ever saw him. Who created whom? January 21st, 2024. Copa del Rey. Unionistas de Salamanca versus Barcelona. Xavi Hernández, who had played alongside Messi, Iniesta, Ronaldinho, Deco, and Puyol, who had managed Piqué in the final years of his career, who had won everything football offers, decided to give 16-year-old his first team debut. Not from the bench. Not for 5 minutes at the end of a comfortable win. Cubarsí came on at halftime in an away match in the Copa del Rey with the score at 0-0 and everything to play for. He provided an assist for Jules Kound. Barcelona won. 3 days later, Cubarsí started in La Liga. At 16, the speed of Xavi's trust was not typical. Barcelona's coach had been cautious about introducing academy players to first-team football in the early months of his tenure. With Cubarsí, he moved fast. And when asked to explain why, what he said was not the language coaches typically use about teenagers. His passing range is among the best I have ever seen. Not among the best for his age. Not among the best in the academy. Among the best Xavi Hernández had ever seen. In any player, at any level. Xavi had played in World Cups, Champions League finals, and alongside the greatest players of a generation for almost 20 years. He is not someone who defaults to superlatives about teenagers as a motivational tool. He is, by reputation and by evidence, precise about what he says. When he said Cubarsí's passing range was among the best he had ever seen, he was describing a 17-year-old. In those terms, with no qualification, that is the first turning point of this story. Not the debut. the sentence after it. In Spain's group stage at the 2026 World Cup, Pau Cubarsí posted 98 to 99% passing accuracy across 3 matches. Spain conceded 0 goals. He was selected in Opta's best 11 of the group stage, alongside Messi, Vinicius Jr., Mbappé, and Haaland. Stop at that list for a moment. Messi, Vinicius, Mbappé, Haaland, 4 of the most decorated attacking players of the modern era, collectively representing a generation of forward play excellence. And in the same Opta Best 11, a 19-year-old center-back from Girona in his first World Cup. He is the only player under 20 to have played every minute of the tournament, 630 minutes, 7 matches, 0 substitutions. Not one rest, not one half game. Every minute, from first whistle to last, including a semi-final against France and a final against Argentina. What do those numbers actually describe? They describe a player whose decision-making is so economical that he never creates a situation that requires his coach to consider taking him off. A player who, across 630 minutes of knockout World Cup football, has not had a moment where the team was better served by someone else. This is not pace or athleticism. Cubarsí is not the fastest defender at this tournament. He is, by most physical measurements, average for an elite center-back, 183 centimeters, 79 kilograms, good in the air, but not dominant. What separates him is the thing that cannot be easily measured, the thing that Jana Redondo saw in Vilablareix when she described him as the player who kept his head up and looked forward when moving with the ball, rather than down. He processes what's in front of him before most players at his level know the problem exists. The documented praise for Cubarsí is not the product of a media campaign or early hype. It comes from people whose credibility cannot be questioned, and who have said things that, if examined carefully, are more extraordinary than they appear on first reading. Xavi's full statement after Cubarsí's early league appearances in 2024, when we are pressed with high pressing, he chooses the best option. He knows when to play through lines. He corrects errors, wins duels, and doesn't seem like he's only 17 years old. This player will usher in a new era. Not might. Will. From Xavi Hernández, who had seen Barcelona's eras from the inside, who understood what it meant for a player to define an era because he had been one of those players himself. Ronald Araújo, who plays alongside Cubarsí in Barcelona's defense and has faced him in training daily, said, "He reminds me a little bit of Piqué because he has something of him. He's very smart." The truth is he has unbelievable talent at just 17 years old. Piqué, one of the most technically gifted center-backs in the history of the game, a man who spent 15 years redefining what a modern defender could be. The comparison is not made casually by someone who sees Cubarsí every day in training. And Lamine Yamal, the most naturally gifted teenager in the sport today, a player who's already been to a European Championship final and won a World Cup, said, simply, one of the best defenders in the world. Not one of the best young defenders. Not one of the best defenders his age. The same formulation repeated from multiple different angles, from people who watch him up close. That is not a coincidence. That is a description of what they actually see. Here is where the question this video is asking becomes genuinely complex. Lamaisia's claim on Cubarsí is real. He arrived at 11. He spent 7 years inside a development system that shapes posture, movement patterns, pressing triggers, build-up rhythms, and the specific technical vocabulary of Barcelona football. What he does with the ball, the short pass into the midfielder's feet, the diagonal switch that bypasses the first line of pressure, the decision to carry versus the decision to recycle, these have Lamaisia's fingerprints on them. But Jana Redondo was watching him at Vilablareix in a village team years before Lamaisia. And what she described, he got the ball, ran the length of the field, scored, ran back, is not something Lamaisia teaches. That is decision-making. That is reading the game from a position where nobody else has noticed the opportunity yet. The coaches at Vilablareix remember him as the player who, even as a child, kept his head up when he moved with the ball. Not down the way most children look, forward. Seeing the field as it was about to be, rather than as it currently appeared. Lamaisia does not teach players to see the field before other players. That is either present before a player arrives or it isn't. What Lamaisia does extraordinarily well is give a player who already sees the field the technical vocabulary to act on what they see. Cubarsí had the vision before Lamaisia. Lamaisia gave him the language. The question of who created the player is therefore unanswerable in the simple form. But asking it forces something more interesting. What would Cubarsí have been without Lamaisia? And what would Lamaisia's last decade have produced without Cubarsí walking through its doors at 11? When Barcelona signed Cubarsí to his first professional contract, the release clause was approximately 10 million euros. At that price, Premier League clubs were already circling. Barcelona subsequently tied him down to a contract until 2029 with a reported 500 million euro release clause. His market valuation has reached more than 130 million euros. From 10 million euros to 500 million euro release clause. In less than 2 years. No player in the history of football has seen this kind of valuation acceleration. Not Mbappé, not Haaland, not Pedri. The specific combination of position, center back, age 17 to 19 during this period, and quality of performance produced a financial trajectory that the sports valuation models were not designed to handle. The deeper story behind those numbers is this: Barcelona understood what they had. The contract that tied him down for 5 years, with a release clause that made him effectively unpurchasable by any club at any realistic price, was signed before the Champions League, before the World Cup, before the Opta Group Stage Best 11 alongside Messi and Haaland. They signed it because Xavi Hernández had said, "among the best I have ever seen," and the board believed him. That is the clearest possible statement of institutional confidence. And it came, ultimately, from a conversation that started in a village of 200 people with no pitch and no school, from a child who ran the length of the field to score, and then ran back. July 19th, 2026. MetLife Stadium. World Cup Final. Spain won, Argentina 0 after extra time. Champions of the world. Cubarsí played every minute. 630th in a tournament where Messi, Mbappé, and Haaland were on the same pitch, and where Spain conceded 1 goal in 8 matches. FIFA's post-tournament Young Player Award went to both Cubarsí and Lamine Yamal, a recognition that the two 19-year-olds from Barcelona's academy had, between them, defined the best team in the tournament. But the specific detail that the Young Player Award cannot capture is the one this video has been building toward. Cubarsí was asked before the tournament what it meant to him to have his family present in North America while he played. "Having my family with me here has been a key factor in remaining cool enough to play my game," he said. His family, Robert and Gloria, who enrolled him at the football club in a neighboring village because Estanyol had no pitch, who drove him to training across the fields between villages, who watched him run the length of a pitch in a game that nobody outside the province would ever know about and score and run back. The composure that Xavi Hernández described when he said Cubarsí doesn't seem like he's only 17. The calm that kept Mbappé quiet across 90 minutes of a World Cup semi-final was not installed at La Masia. It was formed somewhere earlier, in someone with Robert and Gloria as parents, in a village that gave him nothing to play on and no structure to play within, and who played anyway, who ran the length of the field anyway, who kept his head up anyway. La Masia refined it. The World Cup revealed it to the planet, but it was always there. Go back to the beginning. Estanyol, fewer than 200 people, no pitch, no school. A child who wanted to play football went to the next village and played as a defender who ran the length of the field to score and never thought he was better than anyone. He is now a World Cup winner, the most composed center back at the most important tournament in the world. A player with a 500 million euro release clause who played 630 consecutive minutes without being substituted alongside Messi and Mbappé at 19 years old, and who described staying calm as a function of having his family nearby. La Masia is, by any measure, the most successful football academy in history. It produced Messi, Xavi, Iniesta, Piqué. It shaped Cubarsí for 7 years and gave him the technical language to express what he already knew. But the question this video was always asking remains open. The player who kept his head up when he moved with the ball, who didn't look down like other children but forward, was doing that in Vilablareix before La Masia ever saw him. The player who ran the entire field, scored, and ran back was doing that before any coach and elite academy had assessed his passing range. La Masia found Cubarsí. But did La Masia create him? Or did Cubarsí simply find La Masia on the way to what he was always going to become? Here is what I want to know from you. La Masia's reputation is built on the idea that a system, a philosophy, a methodology, years of patient development, creates players. Cubarsí is the evidence that the system works. But Cubarsí also started in a village without a pitch, with parents who drove him to the next village to play, running the length of a field long before any academy coach had seen him. Do you think La Masia created Pau Cubarsí? Or do you think Pau Cubarsí would have found a way here regardless of which academy he went through, and La Masia was simply the best possible frame for what was already inside him? Tell me in the comments. I think it's one of the most honest questions football ever asks about itself.